Welcome to It's All About the Questions, where learning to ask the right questions can help you achieve lifelong success. Now, here to help you ask all the right questions is award-winning author, international speaker, and business strategist, Laura Stewart.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. Boy, does it feel really good to say that. I have not done a show since June 7th. Those who watched my June 7th show or listened to it know that I've been dealing with COVID and long COVID and a number of other health issues, and just trying to fire up the brain power to do everything. This is the first time I've ever had a break this long. But I knew, like I did on the June 7th show when I had John David Mann on, that today I needed to be here for a very special guest, somebody very important to my heart, to my soul, somebody who I've known. I am trying to figure out how long I have known him in person. We've had many cocktails together back when I lived up in Norwalk, Connecticut. But somebody that I've admired for a lot of years for who he is as a person and who he is as an author and a newspaperman and as a leader in the world. And I had to come on today because he is launching his latest Geneva Chase mystery, The Whisper Room. Welcome, everybody. My dear friend, oh my God, I can't stop devouring every book he reads, and they need to be 3 times as thick because I finish them too quickly, even when I try to slow myself down. These books make me so happy, Tom. I don't even know what to say, but I read them, and even though, they're murder mysteries and some of the topics are like, oh my God, I'm still smiling from the moment I get it in my hand. I'm sad when I get to the very last page because I'm like, I want more. And you've written, this is the 5th book.
Yeah, you make me smile. I mean, you make me so happy when we're talking together. And yeah, I don't know how long it's been since we've known each other, several lifetimes, I guess. But yeah, you and I, we did the cocktail thing when I was working for a newspaper up north, and now we've stayed friends all these years. So I am just delighted to be here talking with you.
Yeah, many Chamber of Commerce events and other charity events and board events, and just being out and about in the community. And I mean, now, in addition to being this incredible, I feel like I should whisper because it's called The Whisper Room, author who can I share the latest accolade that happened?
Please do.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm so excited about this. I don't know if all of you know this, but there are awards in every genre of fiction, just as there are in nonfiction, right? And one of the biggest awards in the world for what Tom writes for is called the Edgar Award. And he was nominated for this year's award, one of 5 people in the world nominated for the Edgar Award for this. You were robbed, totally robbed, Tom. But I mean, that's an incredible feat. You've written 5 books, and you were nominated for this worldwide award that is such a pinnacle of your career. Tell me about that.
Yeah, what's funny is
as he's also the head of the Chamber of Commerce of Carteret County, North Carolina. Or is it South Carolina?
I got people out here answering the phone, but it still rings in here. Yeah, it was back in January. And, I really don't write thinking about awards. I write because I enjoy writing and I like telling stories. And my old publicist, who has since retired, sent me a note on Facebook, and he said, "Congrats, dude." And I go, "What for?" And he said, the Edgar. And I go, "What?" Because I hadn't heard. And I went on Mystery Writers of America website, and I took a look. And I'll be darned. I was listed as one of the nominees. And I was the only one here in the office, which was fortuitous because I do not dance. but I was literally dancing around the office because, yeah, it's a little bit like being nominated for an Oscar if you're writing mysteries. And there was a black tie affair in New York City in April, and I met some really cool authors. I did not win. It was Tracy Clark, a very deserving author in her own right. And that night I called my agent and I said, Kimberly, I'm sorry, I didn't win. And she goes, you were one of 5 authors who were nominated for this award. I'm proud of you. So I'm going with that. And my publisher keeps putting it on everything when they talk about me. They say, Edgar nominated Thomas Kies. Woo.
Yeah, it's like the actors who were Oscar nominated 30, 40 years ago. That always follows them and makes it even bigger, each thing that they do, and they get more opportunities because of that. But your books are totally worthy, regardless of all of that. When you were in New York, at one of my favorite hotels in Manhattan, you told me earlier it was the Marriott Marquis where the event was. Do they still have the spinning restaurant up top?
No, I don't think they do.
Okay.
They've got a great restaurant. I know I ate there and spent way too much money, but I don't think the revolving restaurant's still there.
Okay. You were there with tons of other mystery writers. I always love to ask this question of when I have authors on this show. Most never get to an event like the Edgar Awards presentations and everything. Was there one person that was there that when you met them, you were like, I am so glad I met them? Or you met them and you went, wow, they're not what I expected?
No, generally speaking, in the mystery writing business, everybody's very, very supportive of each other. And I have yet to meet a single author who hasn't been friendly and helpful. And that makes me glad because I would like us to think that we're all in this together. But the one author I enjoyed meeting, even briefly, is a guy by the name of S.A. Cosby, who wrote Razor Blade Tears. And he has done a phenomenal job with that book, and it's won just about every award. He was up for an Edgar as well, a different award, and he didn't win. He was robbed. But what a nice guy he is. And then I ran into him a month later. I was up at Thriller Fest in New York, and it was a different hotel. He and I were signing books almost right next to each other. And he's just a really swell guy. So, yeah, I get a chance to meet some of these people I've read throughout the years, and it's kind of fun. And some of them even know who the hell I am. So,
That's really a nice reflection on who you are and what you're doing, the fact that they're recognizing you as well. But I love the fact that you speak so highly of this other person. And we have been good friends on Facebook for a long time, and you're always commenting on other authors' things. And I have a tendency to plug your book in wherever I can to other authors that I've interviewed on the show, just like I try to do with their stuff as well. And that's so much about who you are as a person, Tom, that's where you lead, right? You lead with everybody is in this together. We all can lift each other up. Considering that you were a newspaper man for a long, long time, and considering the stories that you write in here, how do you stay so positive?
There are just so many people who are worse off than I am. I am just a lucky son of a bitch. I mean, I live in a wonderful location here on the coast in North Carolina. I fell into a job. Right now, I'm the president of our Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a cheerleader for the entire county. We've got beaches. We got great restaurants. We actually did a national TV shtick this morning, which I'll tell you about later on.
Okay.
And I've got nothing to complain about. I am so blessed and so lucky. And as far as the books go, if you've ever worked in a newspaper, generally speaking, anybody who is there wants to write a novel. And I was one of them. And I did it, and I continue to do it, and I continue to have fun doing it. So there is nothing to be mad about or upset about. And sure, there are certain things that make me sad, but there is way more things that make me happy. So, and if I can help make somebody else happy at the same time, that even makes me happier.
Well, you heard my opening for the show, so you know that you make me happy. So, and you and your wife and pup are always welcome to come visit down here.
You too. We've got a guest room over here. Don't tell the rest of the audience that. But yeah, you're always invited.
Thanks. If I can ever get my ear fixed and I can travel more than 1 hour in a car, I'm there. I am completely and totally there.
Good. You'd love it here. We got some, like I say, we got some great restaurants, and I'm not a bad cook myself.
Okay, cool. Now, you have a wife, as I mentioned. You got a great dog who you often have photos of your pup sitting there while you're writing, which please everybody find Tom on Facebook. And if you're not already friends with him on Facebook, do that because it's so wonderful to watch. When you're writing the book, because every author I know, including myself with what I've written and everything, it's helpful at some point to bounce things off of somebody. Is she somebody that you do bounce off of throughout the process? Is it or not? Because some people don't want their spouses that involved too early because it's difficult.
Well, it's a balancing act. If I'm working on a new project, and as I'm working my way through it, I'll let Cindy know what I'm thinking about doing and what this character might look like. As far as her helping me out through the writing process, she won't read any of my work until it's actually out in print. So she won't look at it until I get the advanced reading copy, because unlike every other writer in the world, I keep changing it. I keep rewriting it. And if I had a chance to go back to the first book, I'd rewrite that yet one more time. So she doesn't want to keep rereading this stuff. But she's my most ardent fan, and she's also my most stringent critic. So I can't slide anything by her. She will call me out on it.
Do you have other people besides your editor and publisher and agent and stuff that you bounce things off? And how do you go about doing that? Because I know there's a lot of listeners today that, want to write a book or are in process of writing a book, and they love to hear everybody's process.
Yeah. I teach creative writing at our local college, and
of course.
Yeah, of course. One of the things I tell them, in addition to writing every single day, is they should have a beta reader who will take a look at their work and help them edit it and let them know really realistically what they think about their work. You don't want somebody lying to you. You want somebody to be very, very honest. That being said, I don't have one. I work on my own, all by myself in my little office over the garage. And when I think I'm done, and generally I'm working on a deadline once the acquisitions process is in place, I'll send it to my editor, and then I wait. I usually have a really big glass of wine because it takes about 10 days until I hear back from them whether or not they like it or they don't like it. And with just one exception, they've always liked the work I sent. Of course, we do a lot of editing after that. There was one time on my second book, I sent the first 100 pages in, and my editor looked at it, and she goes, I see what you're doing here. I see you're putting all the pieces in place for the mystery, and that's all good. But nothing happens. It's boring. And I go, holy crap, no. So I rewrote those 100 pages completely from scratch in less than 2 weeks and sent it off to it. And then she said, this is terrific. This is haunting. It's scary. It's fast paced. I love it. Keep going. So, it's the first 100 pages always go through the editor first, just to make sure you're on the right track. And then after that, I'm on my own.
That's interesting because, I read it when it was in ARC, your second book,
mm-hmm.
and it I can't imagine that you had written anything differently than what came out for those first 100 pages, because every one of your books, I'm just sucked in from the first paragraph. So that's interesting to know, really interesting that for that book, it didn't go as well. But that happens to writers, and you have to bounce back or just decide you're not going to be a writer.
Well, yeah, and your editor is always brutally frank, and they have to be, and they better be. And I listen to my editors very, very carefully, because this is the business that they're in. And if they make a suggestion, you don't always have to take it, but you should really think about it very, very seriously. And most of the time, I will take their suggestion and I will make a change. Sometimes it's not precisely the change that they were looking for. Sometimes I look for a way to even make it better after that. But I am blessed with, I work with some fine people.
It's really a testament, though, because once you find a great team, and your publishers have changed, because it got absorbed by source books now. And that can often derail an author. In this particular case, I think it went even more positive for you. Can you talk about what that was like when all of a sudden the person who's been publishing your books is no more and it's to a whole nother place?
Yeah, it's scary as hell. Because you're not working with the same editor anymore. You're working with somebody different. You get used to working with someone, and you trust them. Like I say, you built a trust. In working with source books, it's a much larger company. They're very data driven, which is the way a business should be. I mean, they're in it to make a profit, but they're in it to help me sell books. And because source books has such a big marketing arm, and they're very good at what they do, they're able to get my name and my books in front of people that others really can't. Good, for instance, is they re-released Random Road last year before my fourth book was released to build some interest, and somehow got it into the hands of one of the head buyers of Barnes & Noble. And he liked it so much, they made a very large investment in Random Road, and then made a very large investment in Shadow Hill. And it was on the front table of all 600 stores for months. So, that's the kind of thing a big publisher can do for you.
And that shows great belief, because I know from personal experience of coaching some authors and everything, or they're like, you've published a book, could you talk to my friend? And I always say yes, right? And so many of them go, well, if I sign with a big name publishing house, my book will be an immediate success. What do you say to that, Tom?
Quick story. That's what every author would like. Is
always, I've written it, therefore it will sell 1 million copies.
They will, if you write it, they will come. Yeah. I can remember getting one of my royalty checks early on, and it was for something like $7.57. And I took it downstairs to my wife's home office, and I said, well, here I got, here's my royalty check. And she says, well, okay. And I said, well, I don't do this for the money. I do it because I enjoy doing it. And she grabbed the front of my shirt and she says, I never want to hear you say that again. The money is nice, sure. But, what you want people to do is read your story. You want people to enjoy it. It's like when you say, it's a page turner. And when people say, well, it only took me 2 days to read this book, that's a real compliment. It takes me a year to write it, but, it's a real compliment. So I love it when somebody says I couldn't put the book down.
Well, I hope your royalty checks are bigger than the $7 now. I was so excited. I got a thing from Audible. I got a check for $10.62 for the audio version of What Would a Wise Woman Do? And, my book came out 9 years ago. And I never really promoted the audiobook that frequently, but apparently people are still, somebody has recently bought the audiobook off of Audible, and it's always exciting when you get that check from your publisher or from another source, but it means so much more when you get that review and you know people are buying it. So everybody, any of Tom's books that you have read so far, wherever you have bought them, put a review up on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com, anywhere. Put the reviews up and then share those reviews up on social media, because it makes a huge difference. There's my promo.
Please, boy, nothing. I mean, it helps sell books, but it also makes me feel better.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, when I was reading the Whisper Room, and you and I have talked over the years, in between the books, and you're telling me you've got a new book coming out, and I'm like, I don't want to wait, and you've talked about retiring your main character. Okay, for everybody who's listening live or who might be listening to the podcast, all 5 books follow this one character, Geneva Chase, this incredible crime reporter, kick-ass person who's got an incredible group of people all around her. And yes, there's little areas in Fairfield County, Connecticut, and other areas that, because Tom and I are from there, I'm like, oh, I know that place. Oh, I love how he's changed that. That's very cool. So those are kind of fun things. But you've talked about maybe retiring this character and creating a different character. I'd like to talk about that, because this is a character, number one, that 5 books, you've been living her life as a male, writing from a female character, award nominated for it. What's that like to consider that and switch possibly to another character? And are you going to retire Geneva Chase? Because please say no. I'll read anything you write. It doesn't matter, but
sweet.
I love the character.
I don't know. At some point in time, I like spending time with Geneva Chase and all the other characters in the books, and they become like family to you. And for me, at the end of a book, there's a certain sense of relief, but there's also a sense of sadness that I won't be spending time with them for a little while. And but there's also, sometimes you're spending time around your family, and you don't want to spend any more time around your family anymore. You want to do something different. So, and I will tell you that I was only going to write as first person female Geneva Chase, just the one book, Random Road. And now I've written 5 of them. And it's not easy for me to write from the viewpoint of a female reporter. So I thought I'd try my hand at writing like a man, rather than, write like a girl. So, I was talking to my editor the other day, and we may not be ready to retire her quite yet. But we may be also looking at the possibility of a new series. So if I do one or the other, doesn't mean that I'm precluding the other one. It just means that maybe I'm going to be doing both. So there you go.
You can even become like Brad Thor and Stuart Woods and other authors, 2 books a year, one with one character and one with another. Frankly, that just blows my mind that they're able to do that.
Yeah, me too.
She has a life of her own, Geneva Chase, at least in my mind, right? Because I've read every book numerous times, especially, you've been on the show for each one. And when I have somebody on the show who's got a book out, I read the book multiple times, right? So once straight through, and then especially if it's a nonfiction book, the second time through of what kind of questions do I want to ask and whatever. And I'm not going to ask you specific plot questions or anything like that, because any question I would ask you I don't want anybody to have it spoiled for them. When you write as a female, are there any things that you do to prepare yourself to get into the headspace of that?
Yeah. What I'll do, actually, all my books are out on Audible now. I will plug in one of my books and listen to the remarkable woman who narrates my books. Her name's Rebecca Gibble, who I absolutely adore. And she's done all of my books, and she's got a great cadence, and she seems to know Geneva Chase, and she does voices and she does accents, and she's just terrific. But by listening to those Audible books, the audio books, that gets me back into the mindset of Geneva Chase. Sometimes I go back through and read excerpts from some of the other books to get a feel for it. I do like to go back to the very first one, Random Road, and because that was my baby, and that there's just so much emotion, raw emotion in that book that was Geneva's. And I try not to ever lose that when she's doing something in a new book. She does have a lot of heart and a lot of emotion, and she's raising a 15-year-old girl who's not even her own. And she's got a dog that's, a lot like mine. So, I mean, she's vulnerable, but she's also fearless and fierce. And I absolutely adore her. I'm not sure I'd want to spend a whole lot more time with her. Sometimes she can be a pain in the ass, but that's Geneva Chase.
And that comes out, that she can be a pain in the ass in the book. So I love that aspect of it. And there's several friends of yours and ours from back in Norwalk that have chatted in so far. Cindy Clark and Richard Cookie Thomas, who has that amazing voice and incredible singer that I knew from my Pitney Bowes days back up in Connecticut. And then my dear friend, Alexis, he's up there as well. So hi, everybody. When you're writing a fiction book, it's so different than, I think, real life. But now you have also launched into another phase of Tom Kies, the writer. The Carteret Community Theater is now, based on your Facebook, you've become not a screenwriter, but a playwright, writing a murder mystery dinner based on your books. Please talk about this, because it's hard enough to live normal life, right? And then now you're doing this and putting it on stage.
Yeah, actually, this was, I have always done my book launches at a restaurant here called Floyd's. And the owner of Floyd's is a very dear friend of mine. She also happens to head up the culinary and hospitality department of our local college. And she said, for your next book, what would you think about doing a murder mystery? And it's like one of those things is, yeah, that sounds like, that's fine, that's okay. And then, we're coming up on the book launch about a month out, and she says, no, I'm serious. Let's talk about doing a murder mystery dinner at the culinary school. And we'll do it as a fundraiser for both the school and for the local community theater. Community theater basically lost their building in Hurricane Florence, so they've been trying to get back and refurbish it again. So I'm happy to try to help them raise some money. And I wrote the script for this dinner theater, and all the characters in it, most of the characters are from my books. Geneva Chase, Frank Mancini's wife, Mike Dillon, who is the cop, Shannon East, the dominatrix, is one of the characters in the book. And, the woman who's playing the part of Shannon East is really getting into it. She sent me a video of her in the leather, and she says, I think you created a monster. And I said, so these are all our community theater actors and actresses, and they're having a ball with it so far. And tickets are $100 a person, but it's at the culinary school, so you'll know it'll be a gourmet meal. And it's a real mystery. If you can figure it out, there are prizes. And I'm hoping you don't figure it out, because I wrote the damn thing. It is called Death of an Author. And I don't actually play a part in this at all. I wrote a part for somebody to play me. And the guy who plays me, he's got the beard, he's got the hair, he's got the glasses, but he's taller and better looking. So
that's impossible.
No, it's quite possible. And I'll tell you up front, because it's called Death of an Author, that guy dies after the salad plate. And then you got to try to figure out who killed him, me, whatever. And if I'm still alive at the end of this, I will be signing books around dessert.
I love it. I put the link up for anybody watching live on where you can buy tickets if you want to go to Carteret County and support the rebuilding of the theater and just have fun and an incredible meal as well. What it sounds like, Carteret Community Theater. So you can go up there and find that. Trying to figure out the best way to word this question. I'm still dealing with COVID brain, which is so much fun. Writing the play versus writing a book, did you find you had to create a different process, put yourself into a different mindset? And if so, what was that like?
Yeah, because it's even different from writing a play on a stage, because this will take place in and amongst the audience. The characters are actually seated with the audience, and they'll get a chance to interact with the audience before dinner, and then after the author dies, there'll be some cocktails, and they'll be able to interact with the characters yet again. And it's primarily dialogue, but you also have to write some action to it, and the director is going to be handling most of that. So it's mostly dialogue, and I can't write the description, or I can't write what people are thinking. You have to get them to say these things and act it out. But what is very, very gratifying for me, we've done a couple of read-throughs, table readings, and the actors and the actresses seem to really get into it, and they laugh at all the right places. So, I mean, that's really cool. Everybody's sworn to secrecy. Nobody can tell you how this thing ends. And I'm looking forward to it. A little anxiety going on, but my part is pretty much done. I've written a script. And once again, as a writer, I want to keep rewriting things, and I can't keep rewriting it, because that means everybody gets a different script every time I get a wild hair and I decide I want to change a sentence. So I have to let them and let this whole thing evolve, which is a little difficult for me. But like I say, it's coming along, and it sounds like everybody's having a really good time, and everybody's looking forward to it. And I did not write myself apart so I can sit in the corner someplace with a glass of wine and watch.
Do you have visions of this becoming something that other theater groups might buy, or restaurants to do a murder mystery dinner? Like, what was the really big one up in New York? Somebody in somebody's wedding.
Yeah, I don't remember what the title was, but that was huge for a while.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have no.
You could go up to Norwalk, Connecticut, and arrange for some place to do it.
I could, yeah, that would be fun. I'm not sure. I kind of lost touch with a lot of those restaurants up there. I know the Norwalk Hotel has that restaurant, and he's still an old friend, so we could probably do it there.
There's so many different places you could potentially do it up there. That would be. Now, a couple of them might not after Whisper Room comes out, especially one with a location setting in here, but that's okay.
I will say that the lady who is the head of the culinary department over the school, she's thinking about changing the dining area of the culinary school and calling it Whisper Room. So I tell you.
Awesome. That's really, really awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is obviously, being this author, writing these books, has bled into the rest of your daily life. I mean, you're the head of the Chamber of Commerce. How does that impact your daily life as the head of the Chamber of Commerce, or doesn't it?
I try not to let it. On occasion, if we're at some Chamber of Commerce event in the evening, I'll have somebody walk up to me and ask if I'll sign a book, which I'll always do. Or we'll have them come into the office to buy a book. And quite frankly, I don't even have any books here to sell. I send them over to our local bookstore, which is
perfect.
Yeah, it's a really nice little bookstore. I love those people to death. So I try not to let the two merge as well. It shouldn't. When I'm here at our chamber office today. I just finished off a staff meeting before I came to do this podcast, and after I do the podcast, I got another meeting after that. So
okay.
So I'm kind of sneaking this in between, but my staff is very, very good about letting me do this sort of thing. I make sure they get a signed copy of every book that I write. So
that's nice.
Good. Yeah.
That's really nice. And you support the local independent bookstores, which is so critical. And Barnes and Noble to me has always been a local bookstore, because so many cases in towns I've lived in, it was literally the only bookstore.
Yeah.
That was around, and it's really special down here in Vero Beach. Somehow we've got to get you to do a book signing at some point. The Vero Beach Book Center is an incredible place. That's where I did my first book launch there as well. It's just a wonderful independent bookstore, and they really care about books versus. And Amazon's amazing. I buy a lot of books off Amazon because of how easy it is with ebooks and things like that. There's something about walking into a local small bookstore. When you go there a lot, everybody knows your name. They're like, "Hey, Laura, did you know this book came out? We think you'd probably love that."
Yeah, and if they don't have a book, they'll order it for me, and they'll have it in a couple of days. And I like going in and talking what books are hot and what books aren't, and it's comfortable. It's a comfortable place to be.
Have you ever thought about writing to a different genre?
Not really. I guess I write what I read, and I read primarily mysteries. I love reading mysteries, and my wife and I, if we're watching television, we generally love watching mysteries on either television or mystery movies. I've discovered on Acorn TV, and I never even heard of it, but it's primarily British mysteries.
British and Australian.
Yeah, and there is a form of Law and Order that takes place in London. And I thought, oh, this is going to be awful. It's like potato chips. I can't stop watching. So, I think I'm thinking about speaking with a British accent. It's just, I don't think, if I tried my hand at anything else, it might be horror or maybe science fiction to some degree, but I haven't quite got into that mindset yet.
Okay. Well, horror, I would struggle to read because I just have nightmares for months and months and months when I read those. So I just don't. Sci-fi, I'm totally in on the sci-fi as long as it's not alien stuff. Like the movie Alien kind of stuff. I hear you saying that kind of stuff, and you don't get as excited as you do when it comes to murder mystery. And Acorn is awesome. Check out BritBox as well. There's a lot of other things on BritBox. Maybe the next book that comes out, whether it's a Geneva Chase or a different character, maybe they'll have some Brit in there somewhere, winding his or her way around.
Yeah, maybe. If I do the next series, and I'm about 60, 70 pages into a first draft. It takes place here on the coast. It's a transplanted individual from New York, so he's a little bit like a fish out of water.
Like you, when you first got there.
He's a Yankee down here in the South, or as like we like to say down here, he's from off, and so that's been kind of fun for me to write so far, and it gives me a chance to talk about the beach and some of the things that we've got going on here, but also some of the backcountry. Last year I went whitewater rafting with some of my neighbors, and we went way up in the backcountry, And I kept thinking that, if anybody ever killed me up here, they would never find my body. So I think there's a mystery right there.
Have you watched Longmire yet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm a Longmire fan.
I just started, and it's an incredible series, but hearing you talk about, the bad country up high in the mountains and nobody would find your body and all that other stuff. I watched Longmire, and as a single woman, it freaks me out. They're up in like the Montana, Wyoming, middle of nowhere. They come upon these things that are hidden in the woods, and that to me is crazy.
Well, the place we were staying in last year, they're just the nicest people in the world who let us stay there. There were 6 of us, and I get up fairly early in the morning, and before breakfast, the owner of the house was strapping a pistol on. And he says, well, I'm going to go out and walk the dog. And I go, you're taking a gun with you? And he says, yep, just in case there's bears. And I go, what the hell are we? Jeez. So being way out there, it was really neat. And I think that's, what if I'm doing the next series, we're going to have a couple of scenes out there.
Maybe Geneva goes on vacation somewhere and gets caught up in something like that too. That could be fun.
That's a possibility.
Total fish out of water in that case. My friend just posted on Facebook, she lives in Orlando, this picture of this giant, huge black bear outside her screen enclosure. I'm like, that's Orlando. Obviously not. Yeah.
We don't have bears here, but that's got big fish, and that's about all. Sharks. We got sharks.
All right. Now you're a transplant. Yep. I'm a transplant, right? I went to Florida. You went to North Carolina after having always been up in the Northeast. What's been the hardest thing for you to get used to being in a completely different environment? And what's been the best thing that you're now like, I can't believe I've lived how many years of my life without that?
Well, there's a number of things here. One, people are really, really friendly. I mean, they are just friendly to a fault. And like I said before, the food here is spectacular. When I first moved here, I gained 17 pounds. And I've taken most of it back off again. But by God, it's just easy to gain weight. The quality of life here, the clean beaches, the clean air. It's a slower way of living. Sometimes it's a little hard for a Yankee like me to understand what some of these people are talking about. Especially, we have a dialect with folks. It's called Down East, and it's east of here, but it's really north of here, so it should be up east. But it's a lot of fishermen, and it's a lot of heritage up there, and they're a little skeptical of people from off. But once again, they're very, very friendly. A lot of them have a fishing heritage, and they've got a dialect that's almost like Old English. First time I heard it, I thought somebody was speaking with an Australian accent.
Really?
But, yeah, it's a Down East dialect, and if you look it up, you can look it up on YouTube, Down East dialect, and that'll give you some idea that it's almost incomprehensible sometimes.
It kind of reminds me of what people say up north with Cape Codders and things like that. There's this whole other language, and that's how they can determine if you're a lifer there or not, is by the words you say. That's pretty cool. And that, of course, is Amazon now ringing my doorbell, which they haven't rung doorbells to say a package have arrived in 2 years, and I'm dog sitting at the same time. This just proves to everybody I'm doing this live.
I love it. Love it.
Oh, all right. So I'm going to mute for a second and say something interesting, Tom.
Okay. I'm used to answering questions versus actually talking all on my own here.
I thought that would be fun to just throw that at you while I shouted to Daisy to be quiet.
I could sit here and tell a couple of jokes, but I'm not sure that's even good. Some of them are a little off color, and I don't think we're going to do that.
Isn't it funny, though, how we could be in a room, right? And you can start a conversation and have a conversation going wherever. But when you're being interviewed by somebody and then they throw it to you, hey, just hold the conversation, carry the conversation for a minute. It's like, blah, blah, I don't know how to talk anymore.
Yeah. And what's funny is I actually give talks. So I'm
all the time.
I'm used to like getting it. And I was thinking, well, I've got the opening of this speech that I always have given in a while, but how would that go over here online? I don't know. Just shut the hell up.
All right. So let me throw a question out to you, which also you're going to have an opportunity to answer it any way you want, which you always do. But is there a question that you wish you've been asked in all the interviews that you've ever done on any of these books or anything that nobody's asked you that they wish you asked you?
I guess I have been asked this a couple of times, but I kind of like it when somebody asks me the question, is Geneva Chase based on a real character?
Now, I've asked you that one before.
You have asked me that, and it's actually based on kind of two different ladies I worked with at the newspaper up in Norwalk, Connecticut. One of whom I saw when my wife and I were up there in April for the Edgar Awards.
Oh, nice.
We had lunch.
You guys got together.
Yeah, and it was just so nice to see her again. And the other one is Judy, who now lives in Florida. I'm not sure exactly where in Florida she lives, but both of them, their voices are in my head when I write the book. You were asking, how do you get into the head of Geneva Chase? And that's part of it. I try to remember some of the conversations I've had with them. And a lot of the conversations I've had with them were over glasses of wine. And, back in the day, newspapers, we were hard drinking. At some point in time, I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. That was just stereotypical. Now I haven't smoked since 1995. I might have a couple of glasses of wine at night before I go to bed. Can't remember the last time I was in a bar. Well, when I was in New York, I had a couple of drinks with some writer friends. But some of those people were they're fun, but they work hard, and I miss them sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, Chamber of Commerce versus newspaper man, it's a very different way of spending your daily life.
Yeah, it's certainly, you don't have the pressure of multiple deadlines every day. I don't have an editor or publisher really breathing down my neck. But it's still, you've got people you're trying to please. I've got a board, but they're very, they let me do what I really need to do, and we go from there. So
that's great.
Life is good.
Okay, last thoughts you want to share with everybody? Besides, buy The Whisper Room anywhere you can get your favorite books, on Audible or ebook, or I happen to like paper because I don't know. I just like paper books for special books. And then if you do, review it, right? But anything you'd like to say? Last thoughts?
No, I would like to know how people think, what they think about the book. It always makes me wonder, whether or not I gave away the ending. So far, I don't think I did. There's reference to a movie in The Whisper Room. It's one of my favorite flicks. Boy, I'll tell you, if I could write cinema noir like that particular movie, that would be quite something. And the next book I do write, if it's a new series, it will be more of a mystery noir kind of book, I think.
Well, you're kind of started moving towards that with your Carteret community theater murder, dinner, mystery thing. You keep moving with that. Next thing, it could be a movie or a TV series. I could see a Geneva Chase TV series. Totally could see that.
There was some talk about them talking with Sony Pictures, but I haven't heard anything back from it. So, who knows?
I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank you so much for being here with me today. And I know that we had to switch the time, which totally cool with that, because you had that national thing this morning, which we cannot talk about. We will not talk about until we can talk about it.
Sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, and I'm just always so grateful to see your face, hear your voice, and hear what you're going on and doing with the books. It's wonderful to share with my listeners your process and what you think about the characters as well. So thank you.
Well, Laura, thank you. It's so nice to see your smiling face, and I know it's been a while, and I know you've gone through some things and some situations, but thanks for doing this with me. Love you. So stay healthy, please.
I'm working on getting it. So thank you so much. And everybody who's watching live, I've got Tom's website down below. And Tom, this is where you want people to go to find out more about you. Thomas Kies, Kies, author.com. I call him Tom because I've always known him that way. All right. Why Thomas, by the way, for your official?
It was when I sent the manuscript to my agent way back. I sent it as T.B. Kies because I was writing under the guise of a female. And I thought, well, hell, I'll fool them. J.K. Rowling, never let on that she was a woman. I won't let them know that I'm a guy. And my agent says, no, Thomas, you are Thomas. And she has always called me that. And I've written as Thomas. And when she and I speak to each other, she is Kimberly. I am Thomas. And she's another lady that I just absolutely adore. And
that's great.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever call you. I mean, I could call you Thomas, but I've known you as Tom too long because that's the way you introduced me ages ago. But everybody, the website is Thomas, Thomas, Kies, author.com to go see everything that's going on. And there's links to go buy the books wherever books are sold. And remind everybody how important reviews are for you, Tom.
Thank you. It's really important. It does a number of things. It helps us sell books, obviously, but when you're anxiety ridden, like most writers are, we need the feedback.
Well, thanks for being on the show again.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Talk soon. And everybody, grab a copy of Thomas Kies' book, The Whisper Room. Get all 5 Geneva Chase mystery books, starting with Random Road. You will not be disappointed. Post up on social media if you read them. I am at the Laura Stewart pretty much everywhere on social media. Tom paired up his channel for this live stream as well. Let us know what you think of the books. For me, I just wish they were 3 times as thick because I read really fast and I can't stop reading this once I start. I hate it when somebody tries to interrupt me when I'm reading the books. They are that good. So thank you, everybody, for being here today with me, my first time back in a couple of months. And I'm hoping to get back on a regular schedule. I do apologize. And for those who have reached out saying, hey, Laura, where are you? I'm just trying to get through some health issues, and your reaching out means the world to me, just like it does to Tom as an author. Rating and reviewing this show keeps us found. Sharing the show helps other people find it, talk about it, and let me know what you think and kind of guests that you'd like to have on the show. I love you all for listening. I'm really grateful for you every day. And remember, the right questions can change your life. Have a great day, everyone.
You've been listening to It's All About the Questions, starring Laura Stewart. Connect with Laura at it'sallaboutthequestions.com and download a free workbook that will help you ask better questions starting today.